Welcome to the Veterinary Project Podcast, episode 063.
Welcome to the show created by vets featuring absolutely no pets. This is the Veterinary Project Podcast, hosted by Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht. Our resident veterinarians have swapped out their stethoscopes in favor of microphones to bring you the Veterinary Project Podcast, a show focused on real conversations, aimed to connect this amazing profession full of remarkable people. Through the sharing of collective stories and wisdom, and connecting over the many unique challenges we face, we invite you to join our community of veterinary professionals leading intentional lives. And now, here are the hosts of the Veterinary Project Podcast, Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht.
You are on for another episode of the Veterinary Project Podcast with Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht. Mikey, how are you doing this afternoon?
Wow, Jonathan. Excellent. I am doing well. I love the intro. But
we are done with the effort. That's as high as I can go for the day. It's all downhill from there.
I guess so. So yeah, we're recording this for our listeners on the weekend, on a Sunday, having some coffees here. But apparently Jonathan has had way more coffee than me.
Wow. My wife made some amazing brownies. I was supposed to flip them over and get them onto the cooling rack. And instead they split in three, which means I had to eat a third of it. And so I'm jacked up on chocolate for the next 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, we got to keep this episode under 20 minutes there before you crash.
All right. Crash and burn. And the kids are still in quiet time. I'm putting that in quotation. So before they come down and harass. Yeah. So what is shaking on your end of the world?
For me, I am, what are we here? Early November. I'm wrapping up some key things. I had a big deadline with my book. So I've pretty much written it, but we're on one of the edits. And I was supposed to be done by the end of October, but I'm going to be about 2 weeks late. So Rosalie really kind of helped me out. Her and Riley went and visited her parents for the weekend so I could really dive into the book. I stayed up till like 3 last night working on it. I don't do that very often anymore. In vet school, that's how I survived, was late nights. But wow, maybe it's age, but I sure feel it the next day.
Well, you don't look it. I don't even see it on you, so that's good.
Well, I slept till 9 a.m., which is, I don't even know the last time I slept till 9 a.m., which is still only 6 hours of sleep. And I know we've talked about sleep a lot. I need that 7.5, 7.5, 8. So
it's hitting. And in another episode, we're going to have to go into a little bit of the details around your book in terms of the publishing. I just learned more in the last 10 minutes than I knew previously. Quite an interesting journey you've been on. And for those that may be aspiring to get further into writing, I think that'd be well worthwhile for us newbies that have no clue.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's totally foreign territory to me. I'm learning on the fly, but it's fun, but challenging.
Waiting with bated anticipation for release date in 2023.
Hopefully not then. Hopefully 2022, but we'll see.
Excellent. Well, I know a little bit of banter before we get into our main portion of the podcast today in terms of discussion. I was sharing with you a little bit beforehand, totally confirmation bias, but I am excited about some of the social media posts, some of the amazing people that are out there right now that are, along with us, trying to turn the narrative and help with the narrative within veterinary medicine in terms of woe is me. And I know that's strong, but I'm going to put it out there. And veterinary medicine sucks. It's hard. You should never go into this career. And I'm seeing some changes in terms of some of the posting and some of the programs and some of the influencers in our space and what is being put out into the veterinary world. And I'm really happy. I'm excited about it. And it seems, again, confirmation bias to the positive. Everybody knows where I stand on this. It seems like we're getting just a little bit of traction to say, instead of bitching all day long, and I know there's a lot of hard going out there, and I'm right in the middle of it in our own business in terms of we need 10 people now. We're working on it. But what can we do towards that end? And we're going to talk about that with bucket lists today. For me in veterinary medicine, I am excited about what I'm seeing out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sitting here. I'm hoping we can almost push your buttons a little bit and get you on one of your epic rants, because I know this is a heated topic for you. I think I agree, but as we were saying, this confirmation bias, my social media is fairly curated towards the positive. I just choose not to really follow negative posts, and then eventually that weeds them out. So it's hard to know if this is like, real and measurable, but I do agree. I saw lots of posts over the last few weeks, even some people doing some polls about, where are you seeing social media landing? Is it positive? Is it negative? How is it influencing you?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe there is a bit of a corner being turned here, which is fantastic.
I sure hope so. I really do. For all of us in veterinary medicine, that 2022 is looking like it's going to be as busy as 2021, and veterinary shortages and supply of our professionals is not going to improve from what we can see in the metrics. We got a new class coming out in terms of fourth years and fifth years, depending on where you're from right now. They are excited about their career. They want to make sure they're supported. And I think those influencers, which, we'll pretend we're one of them on a niche scale, are trying to influence to the positive. And that's what I'm seeing. I like it. Maybe it's just a day in the chocolate, but I'm going with it.
No, I like it. And that's where with this episode, we weren't sure where to go. And we were like, well, let's do something fun.
Yeah.
Keep the positivity rolling. This doesn't necessarily have anything to do with veterinary medicine, but it has to do with life. So
I think it's the flip side. Like we're chatting on it with a veterinarian that, is leaving our organization and she's moving back to be with family. She doesn't know what she wants to do. And though I told her I'm going to be mad at her till 2024, the future is so bright. So let's talk about bucket list items, because when we're not in veterinary medicine, which, for the most part for my life right now is 24/7, when I'm not doing that and I'm with family and friends, what is a bucket list? Why do we have one? And where are we striving to be in life? Because really, at the end of the day, to the betterment, we have to have other things in life other than veterinary medicine. So focus on today. Bucket list items. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this and keep it short and pleasurable. So, Mike, you're better at this than I am. You have these things written down years in advance, working on it. We're going to talk today about some of the bucket list items that we've hit, which maybe our listeners won't know about, things that are on the list, the weird, wacky, and who knows, and then move from there. So, I'm throwing you on the spot. Your definition of a bucket list item. What is it?
All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would say it's simply something you've always wanted to do. Like everyone's heard of a bucket list adventure, I would assume. So it's that thing, when someone's like, what do you want to do before you die? What comes to mind? And I know, like, certainly there's the big ones. One thing I'm working on and trying to get a bit better at is keeping the big ones for sure, because those are just so fun, those experiences, but also looking for, smaller bucket list adventures so that you can be doing them with more frequency.
And consciousness that you're actually in the middle of it. And I think you nailed something there, which I want to deepen on. From your perspective, is a bucket list item an experience, an event, a purchase, a person you're with? What does that look like to you? Because I know I've got my thoughts as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really thought of that. I try not to really define it too much. There's too many areas of my life where I have very rigid parameters, goal setting, like take these steps to get this outcome. Bucket list adventures for me is just supposed to be fun and enjoyable. So, I lean towards saying they're an experience. That being said, when I look at my list, I have hit a hole in one in golf. And it's like, well, I can't, like,
when's the last time you golfed?
Well, see, this is it. Like, I go like twice a year, and every time I go, I just have a great time because, it's just so relaxing. And I'm always like, I need to do more of this. But hitting a hole in one, like that, is that a goal? I don't know. I have to golf before I can hit a hole in one. The point is, I try not to overthink it. I lean towards them being experiences, but whatever. If it's meeting a person or doing something, I don't care. I don't want to define it too rigidly.
Okay. And see, here's where amazingly you and I are a little different. I take my bucket list items, and when we were prepping for this episode, I look at them as part of my foundation for my goals, which is a little bit different. I'm more structured and different. I'll give you the perfect example. We want to have a lake cabin on the lake, and we have a particular lake now that we've nailed and said that's where we want. That is a bucket list item for us. But unfortunately, due to where that location is and what we want, we're going to need some dollars in the pocket, which means I'm going to have to set up for some goals in order to attain that bucket list item, which I think is going to be super influential for our family. So the quicker I get this going, the better it will be for our family in the long term. I have to set that up as a goal.
Yeah, I mean, sure. If they overlap, I don't think there needs to be a bunch of rules on like, oh no, that's a goal, that's not a bucket list. Yeah. The whole point, people intuitively know, is this a bucket list item? Because it just lights you up.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, like I'm looking at you and it's like, yeah, you want that badly.
Yep. Excellent. All right, let's have some fun with this. Let's shake it up a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes before the chocolate kicks out here. What's a bucket list item that Dr. Bugg has been on in his life?
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know where I'll say Oktoberfest. That was one for me. I've actually been twice in Germany, like actually in Munich, not just like a fake Oktoberfest in Saskatchewan. So that was really cool. Very cool experience.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. That's a good one. Me, bucket list item, Wilbur Smith and Bryce Courtney. For anybody who doesn't know those historical fiction novelists, they write amazing books. I've been starting to read them since I was 12 years old. They are both from South Africa. Bucket list item for me since I was about 12, 13 years old was to go to South Africa. And at 20 years old, I was able to make that happen. That for sure was bucket list item. I still remember the time I sat down onto that tarmac and went, what the hell? I've actually made this here already. Pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yep. Bucket list item. Big one.
Let's see. Other ones for me. These are the ones I've already done. So when I'm a bit younger, they were more adventure based. But skydiving and bungee jumping, I mean, they're separate, but I lump them together because I did them in the same time of my life, and they were awesome experiences. Like highly recommended to everyone.
See, and I go on the opposite end, and skydiving was right up there for me. I was going to be my next one, and I was disappointed.
With skydiving?
Yeah, with skydiving. I was expecting more. Now, I only went from 3,000 feet. I didn't do the version from 10,000, so maybe I have to go again. And I don't know what this is going to sound like. I don't care. I was actually a little bored.
Okay.
I was expecting more. Compared to being in a ring kickboxing, I thought skydiving, you're pulling your pulleys once it's an automatic. I went, seriously?
Well, maybe you got to up the ante to like base jumping or something. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm a little bit, I've this thing called family now where I don't want to die.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
When I did my skydiving, it was tandem, which means I'm just strapped onto someone. So I literally have to do nothing. They're responsible for pulling all the parachutes.
And you did that in New Zealand or Australia, didn't you?
I think it was, New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah. In 10,000 feet or 12,000 feet?
I thought it was 7,500, but I don't know. Okay. I mean, it all kind of blends. And then the bungee jumping I did in New Zealand, I did a series of 3 bungee jumps. Frick. And I would agree, bungee jumping versus skydiving for me was like 10x the adrenaline, because it was just completely different experience. Like the nerves of standing at the platform, and jumping off, like willingly jumping off, and you're like, holy crap! Like that
I'm still feeling it.
So you've bungee jumped?
Oh, mini version though, like the I don't even know, 300-foot fall in Ontario when we were on a business trip.
Okay.
It was a small one, nothing like yours going in a gorge. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, I did Nevis, which at the time I think was the second highest. And I think, doesn't Zimbabwe have the highest in the world for bungee jumps? But yeah, I can't remember how high it was, but it was very high. Like the feeling in your body is very hard to describe, right? It's like every part of you is like, do not jump off this platform. You will die. And then
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's craziness. Okay. Any other bucket list items? We're on the adventure side. We're in the younger life. Anything else?
No, those would be the main ones. I mean, for ones I've actually accomplished, I have lots on my list yet to be accomplished.
I'll give you one. Becoming a vet was on my bucket list. There's lots of options, and I know it took a while for me to figure out, hey, that's what I wanted to do. Once that was on the bucket list, I would say I was pretty pumped crossing that stage. I remember that to this day, and giving a little fist bump to the crowd because she was an accomplishment, that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, see, and that's where, they kind of blend with goals, but it's an accomplishment, something you wanted. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's move to the fun stuff. Future. The bucket list items of which Michael D. Bugg has not reached yet and/or is on the list.
Well, my middle name now starts with a D, I guess. So
What's the name of this episode for anybody that's still listening?
This guy has got way too much caffeine. Number one for me, it's been on my list for a long time, which means I need to make it happen, is to see lava flow in person.
Ooh.
Yeah. I just like volcanoes and lava are just fascinating to me. And I've always wanted to see it. I always think in my head, which tells you how much I overthink, is like, be careful what you wish for. Cause I don't want to be that close. Like I want to be I don't want a surprise volcano, around me. I want to be at a good distance, but I just think it'd be so cool to see lava flowing in person.
Dude, you can make that happen.
That's the
flight away. That's a flight away.
And that's the thing. So on, recently I had my quarterly review with my pod group, and we all challenged each other quite a bit because we're such like goal setters and hard driving towards our goals. And we challenge each other. Like we got these bucket lists, and, if you're not experiencing any of them and you're waiting till you're 65, 75, 85 and never doing them, it's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of life? So I need to get more intentional about going and doing it. Cause like you said, book the flight and you can go do that.
Like you could be seeing lava by tonight, literally.
I guess.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Just got to do it.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing point that you make, and for our listeners out there as well, because my first bucket list item attached to health that I have on here is to do a mountain bike competition, and I don't even care what competition it is. I love mountain biking. I'm not great at it, so therefore that's my excuse not to do it. But who cares? I just want to be able to go towards a goal and be in a competition. I could care less whether I get last place or not. I just think it'd be a lot of fun. There's nothing major to it. Yeah,
and I think this is basically, or at least for me, part of the goal of this episode is this is a really easy topic to put on the shelf and not visit for a year, for 5 years, for 10 years. And it's like what you just said, you could have that booked by the time your caffeine wears off, like book it, bang, go do it. And at the end of your life, are you going to like regret doing a mountain bike competition? It's like, no, you're going to love it no matter where you finish.
Yep. Agreed. It's the same to the golf. As we get older and wiser, I've said the exact same thing as you. I love golfing. I suck at golfing, but I love it. I can hit the damn ball around. Get out there. How many times did I golf this year? Absolutely zero. Excuses.
I know.
Nothing but excuses.
Hey, what's number 2 on Jonathan's list?
Number 2, bucket list item. Spend a week on Necker Island, which is owned by Richard Branson, and have friends and or family, even better, involved in that bucket list. So for anybody that has not seen Necker Island, it's gone through a few iterations, and I think that would be amazing.
Okay. Fun fact, which is either me spreading completely false information, who knows, but I saw this on Instagram and have not fact checked it. But apparently when Richard Branson offered on Necker Island, he did it as like partially a joke. It was for sale for like 6 million or something. And he offered like 100 grand.
Yep.
And then the guy, whoever he was buying it from, came back at like 180 grand, like something just ridiculous. And that's how he ended up buying Necker Island.
It's in his first book, and you can talk through, because then it wasn't even easy for him to get it because he had no cash at that time, but he's going, I need to make this happen.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Now it's like iconic.
Yeah.
So very
literally.
Cool.
Yep. Very, very cool. Okay. So that's mine. How about your number 2?
Yeah. And so number 2, I don't know if this is number 2. It's high on the list.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yep.
I think it's the Maldives. Which place has those huts that you can go stay and you're actually on the ocean and they have glass bottoms. looks beautiful. So it would be to spend, like a week in one of those huts or whatever it is with Rosalie. I'm kind of like a beach bum at heart, and those are beautiful. That would be a cool experience.
That would be a cool experience. I've seen those on the Google or YouTube, but I don't know much about them. So I'll live vicariously through you on that one.
Okay.
Yep. Excellent. Number 3 for me, and this one's more of goal/reality versus bucket list. I'm not sure where we put it on, but I've been fortunate to travel. I think it's a dozen countries when I counted it up. Not an amazing amount, but I want that for my family. So I'd like to ensure that as we're growing, and this needs to happen sooner than later, that we're spending at least 3 weeks traveling per year to different countries without a set agenda to experience those adventures that I know are amazing, and both bringing it together as a family, experience different places than what you see in Canada, US, etc. And I think that's such a growth opportunity. So for me, that's a bucket list continuous item going forward. We had the plans in place to do that starting last year in 2020. We know what happened. That got kiboshed. So here we are moving into 2022. Can't let that go aside.
Yeah. I mean, travel, amazing things always come out of travel.
There's some good fights when you start off because you're tired when you get into the hotel rooms. Then once you have some sleep and you figure out your bearings, and Candace and I have had the opportunity to travel quite a bit together as both a couple, and then a little bit with our kids. And we absolutely love it. And again, that's part of our life architecture in terms of businesses and setup, is to be able to do that. Doesn't feel like it sometimes now in the 24/7 vet world I live in, but it's possible. Just have to make the effort.
I like how you said that, life architecture. I like that.
Thanks. I've got about 2 minutes left, so let's roll.
I know.
All right.
Okay, well, I got one more.
Let's hear it.
My last one. And I like putting this out on this particular podcast because you never know. Maybe someone can help me with this one. Is to, I guess, work on, but like pet a tiger. So like, I love cats. Everyone knows that. And of all of the types of cats, tigers are probably my favorite. I just find them absolutely fascinating. And I would love to like get my hands on an actual tiger. Now, this means it's probably sedated, which is fine. So I don't imagine ever being the primary vet on it, but just helping out, doing whatever it is, petting it, watching it. Like, I just think they're so cool. So someday getting my hands on a tiger.
That is a sweet bucket list item as my cat pops in through the background.
Yeah, that's good timing. So yeah. And I mean, like, I've freaking going all the way back to like whatever, elementary school, high school, whenever you had to do a report, for me, I would always pick tigers. It's like, I'll do a report on tigers again.
That's cool. See the things we learn about each other on the veterinary project. So if there's anybody out there in the veterinary world, of which we know for a fact, we follow multiple people on Instagram. I can think of a few right now. And yet even in Calgary, where we do have tigers, I was thinking on the fly, I don't think Saskatoon does, do they?
No. And when we came to Calgary in August, we went to the zoo.
Yeah.
But we were only there. It was really hot day. So the tigers were like way at the back, like kind of hiding in the shade. So you could see them, but from quite a distance.
Yeah. The doctor here in Calgary, he's been here for decades plus. He's fantastic. Yep. A couple changes, but I have no inside scoops on that one.
Okay. I'll figure something out. I got time on this one.
You do. That's excellent. All right. So for anybody that's listening and still listening at this point in the podcast today, think about it. Bucket list items, having some fun. I know I've been chatting with some colleagues that have made some changes in their career and they've checked off some bucket list items in the last year. What is on your bucket list to do? And just as we've described for ourselves, I think we've given ourselves a little kick in the ass today, even on this short episode. What do we need to do to make some of these happen? It doesn't need to be an never-ending process. What can you do today to make it go? Mikey D, he's on his way to Hawaii tonight.
Yeah. Next plane out of here. Going to play in the lava.
Sorry, Rosalie, I won't be home when you get home. I am on my way. Yeah. Excellent. Well, this was fun. And I feel like we just even we didn't get super underneath the surface. So as we go into our 2022 goals, we'll probably talk about this further when we do some discussions on setting up 2022 for success in a few more episodes from now.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. I think Rosalie actually got me. I have a book. It's like, but you write your bucket lists in it. And you're supposed to like say what you want to do and then describe how you feel once you do it. It's kind of like a journal. And it makes me realize like, yeah, oh, wow. You got like a whole textbook on this.
She's a big boy.
No,
1001 escapes to experience before you die. And there's a lot in here.
Yeah.
We've had this for years. I've got them marked off in some of the places that we want to be. It is a sweet setup.
Okay, that's it. We're deciding right now. We each have to commit in 2022. We're crossing something off our bucket list.
Done.
Nice.
Wicked. Well, for our viewing listener pleasure, I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I've just completely screwed up that phrase. So on that note, for the 5 listeners that are actually still listening, have yourself.
We're going to get Johnny on IV fluids and making him eat activated charcoal so that he can come down off this caffeine high.
We're going to go have some fun. You know what we're going to do, actually? We're going to go sniff more paint because we're finishing our renovations at Bridgeland Vet Clinic in the basement right away here. And we got some painting to do.
Nice.
Fun times. Excellent. Enjoy the afternoon, everyone. This has been fun.
Thank you for listening to the Veterinary Project Podcast. As a recap on behalf of our hosts, the Veterinary Project Podcast will be releasing new episodes weekly, so be sure to tune in as we bring you more conversations aimed at helping you enjoy a life well lived. If you enjoyed what you heard on the show and you want to stay in the know, please like, love, and or subscribe to the podcast on the listening platform of your choosing, as we're available on all the usual suspects. If you know of others that may benefit from these conversations, we'd love it if you please share the show with them, as this will help us grow our community to reach more and more veterinary professionals. Speaking of which, if you are a veterinary professional and would like to get connected with more like-minded individuals who are joining us on this journey, please send an email to the veterinaryprojectpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll invite you to be a part of our private Facebook group. General feedback, requests for information, or perhaps requests to be a guest on the show can also be sent to the Veterinary Project Podcast @gmail.com. Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht, thank you for listening to the show, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode of the Veterinary Project Podcast. Bye for now.